Hey, I know it's 2 o'clock in the morning, but I need you on set at 6 a.m. You got to go all the way out to Simi Valley to this power plant. I'm going to give you the address. You got to bring at least 3 different changes of clothes. They've all got to be bright colors, bright colors. Think you're going back to high school. Oh, yeah, you're going to be working on this new show. It's called Power Rangers, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Yeah. This is not a surprise, but I gotta admit, I'm a little heartbroken and a little angry. Power Rangers, as you know, is a huge part of my life. Lifelong fan of Super Sentai, lifelong fan of the series. One of the top 20 moments of my life was getting to work on the series for 2 years with the casting company, getting to meet a lot of the people behind the scenes. I'm even in an episode of Power Rangers. And of course, it allowed me to meet one of my closest, dearest friends who sadly passed away recently. She was somebody I went to Knox Scary Farm with every year. We just, stuff. So seeing that Hasbro is finally pulling the plug on Power Rangers is not a surprise after the awful way they have handled the franchise the last couple of years, especially, with the loss of Jason. But yeah, it's a little heartbreaking. And it just shows, again, the continuing lack of foresight, hindsight on the part of the current CEO and the current direction of Hasbro. It's like Hasbro wants to self-destruct. So they are auctioning off 900 or multiple pieces from multiple shows that are in the Hasbro warehouse. So everything that Hasbro owns, Power Ranger wise, all the costumes that were shipped to them from the overseas, all the props, all the Zords, all the stuff they made, is being auctioned off through heritage auctions. We don't know if it's going to private collectors. We don't know if they're being donated to charities afterwards or museums. We don't know if it's going to be a public auction or private auction. But yeah, they are discontinuing Power Rangers. There were plans for at least 2 series going forward. Those have been canceled. There was plans for at least 2 possible movies going forward. Those have been canceled. At this point in time, Hasbro has ended their $30 million deal with Netflix. How do you fuck up a $30 million deal like that? And they're ending their relationship with Toei to get the new stuff. And there's still a whole bunch of of Sentai that has not been converted. I mean, it's literally a license that writes itself. I mean, just look at Japan. Every year they manage to chug out another version of the Sentai, and the current run is amazing. Bakuga Boon Ranger, whatever it's called. Oh my God, it's the best run in a long time. And it's just such a simple premise. And it's so simple, but it's so good. It reminds you of just how good Sentai can be and how easy it is to convert it. I mean, Haim did wonders with what he had. He had this show about these guys that turned into dinosaur-themed, colorful superheroes. And he brought it to America with no idea what was going on and cut it in with teenagers and bright colors and really bad voice dubbing. And it was the hugest thing in the world. I mean, I remember the first month or so where people would there was a kid who lived at the end of my block and he was playing with his Power Ranger toys, and somebody drove by, stopped, got out of their car, grabbed the Power Ranger toys out of his hand, got big in this bit back into the car and drove off. That's how desperate people were to get their hands on the toys. And it was huge. And then, it died out in popularity, but it was still huge. And then it changed ownerships. We had the Disney era, the Saban era, the back to Saban era, and the Hasbro era. And the Hasbro era started off good. I mean, they gave us some good runs. They gave us Beast Morphers, which was quite possibly the best translation they did. And the second season of Beast Morphers is one of the best homage seasons to previous things. It wasn't an anniversary season, but just the way they scripted it with the homages and the nods to the past and the bringing back Jason. Yeah, it was a great homage season. Every season after that went progressively worse. Dino Fury was bad. The 30th anniversary movie that they did on Netflix with Trini's daughter was awful. Just such a bad homage to the series, such a bad homage to Thui. It was just awful, and is not worth the $30 million that Netflix gave them. And then, of course, we had Cosmic Fury, the 10-episode end. And what an awful way to end the franchise. It was not in any way, shape, or form embracing the past or showing us, connections to other series. I mean, Megaforce, Super Megaforce, for how awful it was, at least did a slightly better job of interconnecting to the older series. Obviously, there were better ones. Forever Red, still considered the best, but yeah. Now, we know they've sold off the publishing rights for the game to Renegade. Boom Studios still has the rights for all the comic book stuff, and they have said, again, they're not giving them back. They have no plans to discontinue making Power Rangers cartoons. They did end the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers comic book line, but they have other comic book lines and other series that they're going to explore, from, Space Patrol Delta to Dino Fury to everything in between. There's, 30 years of American history and 45, 50 years, 55, almost 60 years of Japanese history to mine, to tell stories with. And there's still tons of series we never saw here in the States that they could have made it to shows. But nope, they're giving up on it because it didn't make them enough money. Of course, they have no one to blame for themselves why it didn't make enough money, because they hired people who didn't have any love or understand the series. They spent a lot of money on a really awful movie, and then they cobbled together Cosmic Fury and tried to tell a 2-year-long story arc in 10 episodes that were all bad, other than giving us what they claim was the first female Red Ranger, which of course is not true. But yeah, so they dropped the ball. It's hard to believe that this is going to be our last run. At least we had some LGBTQT representation in this run, which was kind of nice, but it wasn't a great run. This is an example of some of the stuff that's going to be on display at the auction. Again, we don't know if the auction is open to the public or if it's going to be for private collectors, if they're going to be donating stuff to museums. We don't know. And they're not letting the license go, which is another sad thing. They're going to not produce any more toys, or they're going to not produce any more games, or they're going to not produce any more action figures. They're not going to produce any more television stuff, but they're also not letting the license go. So I assume they're going to continue to bleed it off. And this company gets to make a video game. This company gets to make some of the toys and just try and make their money that they claim they lost back. They got 30 million. They spent whatever. And they're like, oh, we didn't get enough money. Oh, really? What happened to the 30 million you got from Netflix and Paramount Plus to give them these shows? That just kind of disappeared. I mean, instead you gave us the vomit that was Cosmic Fury. So yeah, that's it. It's on display. There's an auction, heritage auction, 900 some odd pieces of the history of what Hasbro has. And there's not to say there's not other stuff still out there. I mean, we don't know how much stuff Heim still has. We don't know how much stuff Disney still has and how much stuff they took when they sold it off. There's a lot of stuff that was, of course, Japan kept, and they'd send over copies of with. So there's still all the original stuff that was made in Japan that are stored in warehouses somewhere. So it's not like Sentai is going to die. Power Rangers, as we know it, is dead. The format that has been 30 some odd years, that was part of my life that I worked on, that show, that format, Hasbro has unbelievably dropped the ball on repeatedly. And now they're just giving up and they're auctioning it off, and hopefully it'll go to people who appreciate the genre and appreciate the show, whether it be private collectors or museums or whatever, and it finds a good home, and it just doesn't go to some jerk like, Logan Paul is going to pee on it or whatever it is Logan Paul does, set it on fire, reenact the fights, to get things. I mean, the fan base is there. The fan base is strong. And I know as a lifelong Power Rangers fan, lifelong Super Sentai fan, yeah, we're all a little disappointed with how Hasbro has handled it. We're glad that Playmates has the toys because we know at least that line will continue to be quality. But unfortunately, there's 30 other years of toy lines and 30 other years of stories besides Mighty Morphin that we don't know what the future holds for in regards to the episodes, in regards to the toys, in regards to the IP, in regards to the comics. Again, thankfully, Boom Studios still has the entire franchise that they can mine. And again, they're saying they have absolutely no plans to stop or give it away. So that just leaves the toy license. And we know Hasbro's already given the Mighty Morphin line to Playmates, which leaves 29 more years of lines that they could give to Playmates or another toy company. And as for the IP itself, even though they have no plans to continue making productions, it doesn't mean they couldn't milk it off. Don't think Netflix is going to want to get in bed with them again, and I doubt Paramount Plus is going to want to get in bed with them again. But I'm sure Disney would take it back if the offer was good enough. I mean, Hasbro would have to take a loss, but I'm sure Disney would take it back and do something mediocre with it. I mean, some of the Disney run was really good. But some of the best runs were just the cardboard and paper stapled together stuff that Heim did. I mean, you can't top Power Rangers in Space for the best story, or Power Rangers RPM, which was Disney, or Beast Morphers, which connected to RPM, even though it was two different companies. So, yeah, bad news. But not all hope is lost. There is a silver lining to this sad story, because even though we won't see any more Power Rangers for a while, if ever, all of it is still on YouTube. All of it is still out there. There are still DVD collections of all the series. Most of the original runs of the series are on channels like Tubi, both the original Japanese Super Sentai and the American conversions. So they're out there. You can find them. But more importantly, there are channels like Toku Fun. Thank you, Toku Fun, who have access to the entire libraries from Toei and from the other companies and can show the entire series. Like they have all the, Kamen Rider. They have all the Super Sentai going all the way back to at least as far back as Go 5. Yeah. So they have all the way back to the original and the most recent Boom Ranger, which is freaking awesome. They have a bunch of the movies. They have the Goro series. They have a ton of Ultraman. They have some other real weird ones like Toei Spider-Man. If you've never seen Japanese Spider-Man, wow. Hikone Sente Aka Ranger, which is the parody, 2-year-long parody run that was later made an official part of the Power Rangers Super Sentai continuity and is even referenced in the future in some of the other ones. So yeah, you can find everything on Toku Fun if you want to get caught up on your Super Sentai. And a lot of them have either been dubbed or subtitled. People have put in countless hours. So if you're like me and want to get caught up in an older series or revisit something, this is the way to do it. So Hasbro maybe have dropped the ball, but Tokusatsu Super Sentai is still out there. It's still going strong. Doesn't look like Toei and whoever else has any plans of stopping. They just started a brand new Ultraman arc. They just started a brand new, Super Sentai, and they're just starting a brand new Kamen Rider, which looks unbelievably stupid. Kamen Rider Candy, which means it'll probably be awesome, because the last time they did food-centric Kamen Rider and everybody thought it was the stupidest thing ever, it ended up being one of the darkest, most awesomest runs ever. So I have high hopes for Kamen Rider Snack. So yeah, it's still out there. So go to Toku Fun, link down below. Hopefully I'll have more information on the auctions as soon as Heritage Auctions makes it available. And yeah, I mean, I gotta say, as something that was part of my life for 2 years, as something that let me meet the closest thing I ever found to my person, my closest, dearest friend for so long, who sadly isn't with me anymore. Yeah, it was just, it was just so bizarre. And, and calling people at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, telling them they have to drive all the way out to the middle of nowhere to pretend to be high school students, and I'm calling 35-year-old men, 40-year-old women, guys and girls who look nothing like they should be in high school. And I'm telling them to, bring 3 changes of bright clothing, drive all the way out to, bumfuck nowhere, and work 40 hours pretending to be a high school student, even though you're 6'10", you have a beard and a mustache. And if you're lucky, you make, $40 for 8 hours of work. And if you're really lucky, you get to say something and possibly get your SAG card. I mean, it was just a Wild West, weird show. But it was wonderful. It was wonderful. I mean, the minute I was told I was working on this show and I made the connection to Super Sentai, I was like, this is going to be so fucking huge. And it was. So yeah, thank you, Haim Saban, for bringing us Power Rangers 32 years ago. Thank you, Saban, Disney, and Hasbro for keeping the franchise alive. And thanks to all the fans like myself and the people over at Toku Fun and all the other people around the world, whether they be young or young at heart like me, who just absolutely love Tokusatsu and Super Sentai and Kamen Rider and all these ridiculously awesome shows, for keeping it alive. And shame on you, Hasbro. Just shame on you. And literally, it's something you could not fuck up. You would have to actively try to fuck it up as badly as you fucked up Power Rangers. It's literally a license to write money. Literally. Very little work. Have you seen some of these story arcs? If you've seen some of the runs, you can tell they were just making it up as they went along. And, 80% of them have been awesome because Japan understood the audience, and Japan understood the formula. Japan understood the times, and Japan knew it's a license to print money because the toys will sell to both boys, girls, young, old, doesn't matter. They understood this back in the 70s. Hasbro didn't understand it in the 2020s. You can also find Cosmic Fury and the 30th anniversary on Netflix, I think, still. And if you can't, they're on this channel and they're on YouTube out there. So yeah, it sucks, but there is, like I said, hope that somebody will buy the rights, or we'll still see it. I mean, it'll be back in some form. It'll be back. It's too embranded in the public wherewithal to not disappear completely. So it'll be back. Yo,